Welcome to Almost Agreeable.
Almost Agreeable.
With your hosts, Chris Nellison and Ed Harris. Hang around and listen to opinions on sports, movies, music, and whatever else pops in our head.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Almost Agreeable. I'm one of your hosts, Ed Harris, and
I'm Chris Nellison.
And today we're going to be talking about some media, some fantasy, some series, some movies, and really which one is the best. Because there has to be one that's the best, right? That's how else would we rank anything?
Talking about series?
We're talking about series.
Are we talking like movie series or like other show series? Because I feel like we can do that, but also we can talk about why there's different classes.
Oh, absolutely. So in this one, we're going to be getting just into movie series.
Okay, sweet.
All right. So just throw a couple out there. Let's see what's on your mind currently. Like. What kind of movies?
I did just watch the extended edition of Lord of the Rings.
All right, makes sense.
That's pretty recent.
That is a yearly thing that usually has to happen.
Hell, it could be twice a year. I don't know. It's just so good.
It is really good. I mean, you know, we've got Lord of the Rings. We've got, you can even say James Bond, even though it's a whole different series. I mean, it's not one continual story, but it is still a series of James Bond. You have Harry Potter. You have Marvel movies, which that's just whole one big story. Indiana Jones, Star Wars. You know, we have all these different kind of series. Which one is the best one? How could you even quantify that? How do we even start about talking about all of this stuff?
Well, I don't think you can, but it's still going to be fun to talk about. But I think you have to have some criteria, right? And basically, your criteria needs to be, are your sequels as good, if not better, than the original? That alone right there sets apart so many series from trash-ass series, okay? Because if your sequels are the definition of what a sequel is, an inferior film, then it's garbage. Who cares? But if your sequels are going to be as good or better, then we're talking about a franchise that's successful. And it's been easier nowadays with technology and stuff like that, but you go back a little while, and that's hard to do. There's not a whole lot of successful.
It's a rough one. It's a rough one to get into. So I'm just gonna list my top 5 from 5 to 1. All right, from 5 to 1. So from 2 to 5.
I hope you know that as you're going through your 5 to 1, we're gonna dissect.
Oh, absolutely, we're dissecting all of them.
Okay.
So 2 to 5 are fluid. They're fluid. At any point, they could be at any different one. It all depends. Okay. Just on how I'm feeling that day. If I want to watch it, if I want to really, dive into whatever it is. But the number 1 is the number 1. All right. So we'll start out at our number 5.
Number 5.
You are really not going to agree with it.
Oh boy, here we go.
What is it? If I'm telling you, you're not going to agree with it. What is it?
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I feel like there could be several because as you're talking, I'm putting my top 5 together.
Oh yeah,
right. And Star Wars is in my top 5.
It is.
But I wouldn't put it at 5, so I can't say it's Star Wars for you.
It is Harry Potter.
It's Harry Potter. I fucking knew it. I did. And I knew it. You said I disagree, and it's because I do.
I knew you were going to. Okay.
And let's just, real quick before we get into it, I want to point this out for people that are listening, okay? I grew up with those books. I love the books. I love them. To me, I can't get into the movies, man. I can't do it. And we'll get into that later. But tell me about why Harry Potter is number 5 on your list.
Harry Potter.
And then we can talk about the ones that it beat out that deserve to be there.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I guess we can do that. But Harry Potter, it's an immersive kind of world. Okay, this entire concept of wizarding and different houses, and it makes it easy to try to quote unquote belong. If you know what I mean, like when there's competition in something or kind of sides into something, it makes it easy really to try to get into aside. So just even the first day these students go to Hogwarts, they have all these different houses. So me growing up reading these books, it's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm looking at these different houses. Okay, I could connect with that, connect with this, and it just resonates. So that's a huge part of it, just the immersive universe that it is held in.
Right. You said books, so I'm following. I'm definitely following.
Absolutely. That is just a huge part of it, as well as growing up with them.
Yes. I think
I'm the same age, basically, as it... Like, as the books are being released, I'm pretty much the same age as I'm reading them. So It's really a growing thing as well. So it's, for me, more than just the story. It's also some nostalgia with it as well.
I was a little bit older, but not too much, right? I'm only a couple years older than you are. So same for me. I grew up reading them around the same age as the characters in the book. So yes, nostalgia plays a big part. But as you were talking about the immersive side of it, it was so refreshing to be able to get lost in, an alternate reality, so to say. And that's what's exciting about, a lot of the series we're going to be talking about, but particularly that one, because your main character was a kid like you were when you read him. And then you got to grow up, so when you got to book 5 and you read about how Harry was being an angsty fucker.
Oh, yeah.
You were also an angsty piece of shit.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were like, oh, get it. Yeah, I hate the world. Yeah,
I'm just mad, cuz.
Yeah, cuz. Yeah.
Just cuz.
Yeah. So tell me why the movies are number 5 again? I'm just confused. I'm just kidding. Pick up wherever you left off.
So tell me why for me I know they would never be on your list. Just go ahead and explain why. Because, I know why, but let's let everybody else know.
I guess there'll never be a book adaptation, film series, or TV series that can capture everything in a novel. Okay, it's next to impossible. One of the only books I've ever read that was, almost verbatim novel was The Green Mile by Stephen King. Okay, if anyone reads that and you watch the film, it's very close. The closest I've seen. That having been said, I can't be a stickler, really, because of all the things they omitted from the films. The things they do omit or even gloss over or like fluff up and like fabricate their own stuff that wasn't in the book, I just can't.
It shapes things differently.
It does.
It does.
It gives new motivations to characters.
It does.
And I'm just like, I'm a purist. I'm like, no. I'm like that Leo meme where he's pointing at the TV. It's like, no. Yeah, I don't know what he's saying in that scene because I forgot. But for me, that's not how that goes. But here's the thing. I'll watch them. Okay? I'll watch them. I ain't gonna enjoy it. But they're Harry Potter, so like I'm fucking in. Not in my top 5 though.
Alright, and we'll just round this out. What house are you?
I'm Gryffindor.
Naturally, and I myself am a Ravenclaw.
Well, shit. There's no Hufflepuffs here.
No Hufflepuffs.
If you were a Hufflepuff, everything you would have said would be invalid.
It would just be... I wouldn't ever be able to, disagree with you. It'd just be like, the show would just be called Agreeable.
Agree.
All right. That we're not going to do an in-depth analysis of every single one of these.
No, we could on separate episodes.
Yeah, of course. So let's just go to fluid number 4, Indiana Jones.
Oh, very nice. Now we're talking.
There we go.
Holy okay, but we're saying 3. 3 of them.
Oh, okay. So this is also what I wanted to. This is what I wanted to get into because it is part of the story. We kind of had this conversation a couple weeks ago about what constitutes part of the story, what is part of the actual sequel, if it's a prequel and it's actually still part of the main story. So, do we count the Crystal Skull in with that?
We have to.
We have to.
We do. We have to.
Okay.
It's there. It was made. I wish it wasn't, but it's there. It's there. So yes, it's included.
All right. You know why I don't include it?
Oh, you don't?
I've never watched it.
Oh.
I've never watched it. Oh. So for me, it just doesn't exist. So I can go on living in this world where I'm just like, oh, there's 3 Indiana Jones movies. I'm completely. That's all I know. I know nothing else.
So is it cool then if we just go ahead and just like I can also pretend like it's not a part of the series either? Like we can just go since I can't do any back and forth with you about how it was. So we can just sit here together and say no. It's
Perfect.
It's just Raiders, Doom, and Crusade.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only Indiana Jones movies there are.
Yeah, that's it. Even though they're talking about making more. So.
Yeah. They hopefully they do not make more. But you know what? I'm just gonna throw it over to you. Why does Indiana Jones deserve to be on a top 5 list?
Okay, so Indiana Jones, you got to think about the time that it came out, right? And the minds that it came from. Okay, now this is George Lucas. I like original trilogy George Lucas. Mm-hmm. Okay, not prequel trilogy George Lucas. Mm-hmm. This is George Lucas in his prime. Okay, and he comes up with this idea, and then you put together a hero, and this is why the everyman, the common guy, loves Indiana Jones because he's not perfect. He's great at great at doing adventures, and he can shoot guns, and he has his whip, but like he fucks up.
Oh yeah,
he gets he loses a lot.
Some shenanigans.
He's just an everyman.
Yeah.
And I feel like people can connect with that, and they can say, oh yeah, and they can laugh, and they can say, yeah, he's not perfect. It's not like James Bond, who is just always just like bullseye, driving my car, make this turn, flip a bitch, do that.
It's not relatable.
Jump out of a plane, parachute right where I wanted to land. It's not relatable. It's still fun, fantasy, but with Indiana Jones, it's like, oh yeah, I could see the definitely. I would
like you can tell like, oh man, he just went on a chase or something, and he's tired.
Yes,
he's tired.
One of the best scenes that illustrates that exact point is when he's looking for Marion in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the dude comes up with like his sword, and he's like doing a bunch of tricks, and he's just like, oh my god, he just shoots him. That's
the exact scene I'm thinking of. Just like, yeah, you know what, I'm not dealing with this today.
Yeah,
bang, got him. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure a lot of people know this, but if you didn't, that actually was not in the original script. Spielberg had an elaborate fight scene for Harrison Ford against that guy with the swords, but they were filming that movie in Tunisia, in Africa, and everyone had dysentery.
Yep.
Except for Steven Spielberg, because he brought his own food. And Harrison Ford was like, look, man, I can't film that. Can I just shoot him?
I can't do it.
I'll shit my pants.
It's Oregon Trail over here.
Yeah.
Dysentery. He died from dysentery.
Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, I like that. Shoot him. And it worked perfectly. Some of the best moments in movies are the unscripted things like that. It just
happens. So that's in Indiana Jones, just being a guy you can connect with. It really does make it.
But really also, and like building off of that is like each movie, you can see, because chronologically they go Temple, Raiders, Crusade.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see the growth. In Temple is dark.
Temple is dark.
And he was kind of a shithead.
Definitely dark.
And he was a shithead. And you can see him grow into Raiders. And then by the time you get to Crusade, that whole story of like, obviously they're looking for the Holy Grail, but really what he was looking for was that relationship with his dad.
With his father. Him having that growth was his father is huge.
Yeah, that was the underlying theme of the film, and that's what these films did. They all had underlying themes that resonated with people, and so that's why 100% should be in your top 5. And the action was great. This is before the days of CGI.
Oh, yeah.
So all practical effects, and one of the great series of all time.
Fantastic. All right, and then I have the Dark Knight series.
The Dark Knight series.
We've got Batman.
I hate Batman, right?
Yeah. Sure. Spoiler alert. Chris absolutely loves Batman. When we lived together, we didn't have a bathroom. We had a bat room.
Bat room, yeah.
It was the bat room because we had Batman memorabilia.
Batman shower curtains, Batman trash can, Batman soap dispenser, Batman toothbrush holder, Batman little portraits on the wall.
It was outrageous. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but it was the bat room.
It's a wild scene.
So Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises. Batman Begins we're starting out with a different kind of Batman.
Well, I think that's what's great about Nolan's trilogy is that it's grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Right? So these are like almost like a standalone Batman where it's not in the DC universe. You don't have Superman in Metropolis flying around. There's no supers. It's grounded in reality. So I think that's what, and we'll talk about Batman Begins first, but the grounded in reality take is what makes the Dark Knight, the second movie, and the Joker so crazy because it could happen. It's believable. But go back to Batman Begins.
There's so many different kinds of Batman, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about it. You have the Adam West Batman. You have the Christian Bale Batman. You have you have Batfleck.
Yeah, Batfleck.
I liked Batfleck.
I like Batfleck too.
I really honestly like Batfleck.
Well, if you're brushed up on mythology of Batman, and like the Batman that Ben Affleck is playing is like an older Batman, right? Dark Knight Returns for comic book readers. That's the kind of era that Ben Affleck is in playing that Batman, and that's what's so great about it. Why I enjoyed his performance is because by that time in Batman's career, he is that way. He's
over everybody's shit.
Yes.
Just done.
He's down with killing people. He's like, bruh.
I really don't have time to send you to jail so you could break out.
Yeah, I'm going to brand you, though.
Yeah, I'm going to brand you and, sorry.
Yeah.
But really not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
So starting out with Batman Begins, yep. We have Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, whatever you want to say. But we have Ra's al Ghul.
Great cast.
Great cast.
You bring up Ra's al Ghul, we're talking about Liam Neeson.
The villains in each movie are unmatched. They are.
100%.
You have Liam Neeson, and then you have Heath Ledger, and then you have Tom Hardy. That I had seen Bronson, I had seen Inception. I had seen movies that Tom Hardy was in. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he didn't really stand out like, oh man, I love this guy. Dark Knight Rises, Bane just blew it away.
He got so big for the part 2 because I remember watching Inception and being like, unlike you, I was like, I love that guy.
How's Eames going to be a huge villain?
Yeah, and then I loved him in the movie, and then they're like, he's going to be Bane, and I was like, bruh, what? And then he got so big for that role. But yes, villains are a big part of that series of success because you look at how they go. Okay, you got Ra's al Ghul, and it's Liam Neeson, great actor, and this villain is outthinking Batman because he trained him.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have Joker, who Batman can understand on a psychological level he's going to win. And then you have someone who could physically beat the shit out of Batman. So 3 different variations of a villain. And I love that. It encompassed, everything about that.
It's fantastic. I think that's why Batman is the greatest DC hero. He's not Superman. He's not like a god. I can do this.
Yeah.
He has weaknesses, stuff like that. I mean, that's the whole core of his character. He has weaknesses. And that's why I think it's fantastic that all these different villains like kind of keep him in check. And on the alternate side of that, with Marvel, that's why I think Spider-Man is the best Marvel hero. It's because he has all these different kinds of villains, which are completely different in every way. I mean, so that's just going off in a different route.
Quick aside, I like that because it goes back to what I was saying. The point I was trying to make is that the villains make the hero.
Absolutely.
And that's why the Dark Knight trilogy deserves to be in the top 5, strictly because of the vision, grounded in reality, and the villains.
All right, moving up to a fluid. I mean, this one's more solid than the rest. A more solid number 2. It would be number 1 except for the last 5 years. And what is it?
It's the MCU?
No way. It is Star Wars. So this would absolutely be number 1 if it were not for the last 5 years.
So we're talking about the sequel trilogy.
Of course, yeah, we're talking about the sequel trilogy. There's some problems there, but even with the sequel trilogy, this still cements it as my number 2.
So, the sequel trilogy. Unnecessary.
Yes.
Unnecessary.
Yes.
And then, you think about how stoked we were before it came out. Looking forward to all of it. And
I was hyped. I can't recall a time that I've been that excited for a new entire story to come out.
Well, I know that, like, I'm not ashamed to say that, like, when I went and saw Force Awakens in theaters when it came out, and I had tears in my eyes when that opening crawl came out, man. Like,
it was great.
It was a powerful feeling.
It threw it back.
And then they put out a great teaser as well. Like, the teaser was, Chewie, we're home. Okay. They had a great teaser coming out. So, very excited. Force Awakens was good, and I think the reason we all thought it was so good is because it's been the first Star Wars movie that has come out, since the dismal prequels. And then Last Jedi was so polarizing, but we don't need to talk about that because Star Wars is your top 2, and Star Wars is so big. It's so big because now we're talking about original trilogy. We're not just talking about prequel. We're not just talking about this sequel trilogy. All the stuff that Disney has made canon since they bought it. all great material. Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Rebels.
Everything. Okay, look. Let's get something straight here too. I love the prequels. Love them. Okay, they provide all of this insight into what happened with Anakin, why he's the way he is, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and just they introduce these amazing characters. They really do. It feels so much different than the original trilogy, because it used to be an entire galactic republic instead of this empire where it's just like, okay, everything's kind of being taken over and it's just these kind of planets, all right? In the prequels, you have all these different kinds of creatures, all these different kinds of worlds that you venture to, and it is more immersive than any other series I can think of.
I agree that, like, it gave you insight into whatever, seeing the fall of Anakin Skywalker. And it does. And I don't blame... I don't blame Hayden Christensen at all. He was given shitty dialogue, so it's not his fault. But I get it. You have to watch, and this is going to sound silly, but you have to watch the animated series, specifically the Clone Wars. It really humanizes him, because in those prequels, he's so robotic. The dialogue is just so bad.
He's a kid,
and you can't.
And he's angsty,
and you don't relate to him.
Yeah, it's just like these kind of things happen, and he's going to become Darth Vader. And you're like, how can you see this guy, this pretty boy, as Darth Vader?
Yeah. And those series, even though they're animated, they're not for kids, man. I mean, the kids will enjoy it because they won't pick up on the underlying tones of it. I was watching it as, a 30-year-old.
True, yeah.
And I was like, yo, like, this is not for kids.
It follows the kid kind of formula. It has all these bright colors. It has some filler episodes where it kind of teaches you a lesson, but it also has like fucking death and betrayal and beheading and schemes. Yeah, political schemes. It's far beyond the scope of like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, and the 7th season just came out, and it was. And for those of you that haven't watched it, and maybe are on the fence, that 7th season. The last 4 episodes are concurrent with Revenge of the Sith. Okay, they happen at the same time. While the events of Revenge of the Sith are happening, the Clone Wars is taking place in those last 4 episodes. And it's wild because you're seeing it from a different perspective. You're seeing it from Clone's perspective, and you're seeing it from Ahsoka Tano's perspective.
Order 66 was no joke.
No, it was not. Because if you play Fallen Order, the same thing is happening. The very first cutscene that you see in that game. And that I know we don't have a whole lot of time to stay here, but that's why the Star Wars universe is so amazing. Because I've just talked about 3 different mediums.
Yeah.
TV, movies, video games. I haven't even gotten to the novelizations yet.
I mean, and if we're going to keep on going with that, do we know a better composer than John Williams?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, not yet. He has more Oscars than anybody. Okay? If you guys get... And like, now a little trivia for y'all if you don't know that John Williams composed Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Jaws. Okay? Dude is... Oh, E.T.
Everything that's great.
Everything that Spielberg has done, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So that everything that you just said... all of the different mediums that it has, all the different stories that it has. I mean, I enjoyed Solo. I really liked Solo.
I didn't hate it.
Was it a fantastic, like, 10 out of 10? No, it's probably like a 7.5.
It was
7.5, but it was enjoyable. Yeah. I'll watch it again.
I didn't hate it.
Didn't hate it. And, okay, so you're never going to get a guy to be Harrison Ford.
No.
But they did the best. That's probably the best that they could have gotten. He rode the line right there between cocky and confident, and it was right, like, middle of the lane. It was the best that they could have gotten without actually having a time machine.
Fair. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I'd be open to a sequel. I would, with the same actor, because I know they're talking about it.
Yeah.
I'd be open to it, but I wasn't sold on some of his motivations. But there was a lot of pre-production issues with that movie. They had to get a new director. Ron Howard came in and did the best he could, but they already had the script written and had to replace the director at the last second. But yeah,
it just makes it really easy. I mean, just thinking of Star Wars, what do you think of the original trilogy? It makes sense. And then you think of the prequels. It's very divisive on that. And then you think of, some of the stories. You have Rogue One, you have Clone Wars.
Rogue One was great.
Rogue One was great. And then you have Solo, and then you have the sequel trilogy. And if the sequel trilogy didn't exist, I wish I could think of it like I think of the Crystal Skull. I wish I just never saw him, so I could just be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Luke defeated the Empire, and it's all good.
Luke defeated the Empire. Anakin he became the chosen one. He balanced the Force. And if I could think of it like that, it would be an easy number one. It's not, because we have a sequel trilogy and we have Rey Palpatine -Skywalker. So for that reason, I'm out.
No, all reasonable. I agree with you.
All right,
we'll see where we can go from here.
So what leaves number one?
Lord of the Rings.
Okay, that's the easiest question you've ever been asked in your life. I'm sure it's the easiest question you've ever been asked in your life. Fantastic. So we had this kind of conversation a couple weeks, maybe I think it was months ago now.
Oh Jesus, I know where you're going, and I'm very upset.
Does the Hobbit?
Sorry, that was loud.
Does the Hobbit count in the Lord of the Rings series?
Okay, this is an answer in two parts.
Okay.
The first part is no, it's not. The second part is, even if they are, it's still number one. That's it. But what conversation are we having right now? Because are we talking about Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King?
Naturally.
That's it.
Well, I mean, we all right, look. All right, fine. Let's have the conversation about The Hobbit. Okay, it happened. There, that's the conversation.
Okay.
So now let's talk about the real series.
Yes.
Fellowship, Two Towers,
and
we
Return of the King.
Again.
Weird.
Okay. Just those movies in themselves. Let's just talk about how they were all filmed at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They were all filmed at the same time and released a year away from each other.
Yeah.
What was it? 01, 02, 03? Or was it 2000?
It might have been
2002.
Might have been the latter. 2000. It might have been 01.
I think it was 01, 02, 03.
Because I remember the Return of the King won like 11 Oscars, and I think it was 03.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 03.
I just saw a meme. It was like, if you're ever feeling down, watch the 2003 Oscars, and it's like, the Oscar goes to Return of the King. Oscar goes to, it's like 11 times.
Again. So just the whole scope of how all of these movies were filmed, Peter Jackson is coming in just like saying, hey, I have this whole story. Okay. And he wasn't going to film all of it at the same time at first. Things happened. He eventually did. He's filming 3 movies all at once and isn't sure how to actually cut them all together.
Well, he actually, when he presented it to New Line, he didn't think they were going to buy it, so he condensed it into 2 films. And they loved his presentation so much, they were like, I thought there was 3 of these. And he's like, oh my God, yes, can I make 3? And they were like, yes, please, make 3. And he was like, oh yeah, yes.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So that happened, and he's filming all of these all at the same time. And then they're all getting released, and you're having some actors, maybe not like big actors, you're having Sean Bean.
This is pre-Ned Stark.
Exactly. This is pre-Ned Stark. This is pre a lot of, what we've seen from him.
Yeah.
You have Ian McKellen. You have Viggo Mortensen.
Sir
Sir
Ian McKellen.
Sir Ian McKellen. Was it Sir at that point?
100%.
Oh, okay. I don't remember.
He's been around forever.
He's an old... I mean, what is he? Gandalf? He's like 5,000 years old?
Yeah, he was there before Middle Earth was there.
Yeah. So, just having all of these actors coming in. You got Rudy in there,
Rudy.
You got these...
You mean Bob from Stranger Things?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You got everybody coming in, and you're making... Who knows if they thought it was actually going to be a masterpiece?
I don't know that they thought it was going to be a masterpiece, but I know that they all knew these were going to be good. They had to, because we talked about composers a little while ago, and we can touch back on this later. But we're talking about like how they would know it was going to be good. Peter Jackson got the green light from New Line, like, do this the way you want, and he did. He got actors he wanted. He got to shoot in New Zealand, where it was beautiful. And then you had Howard Shore come in to compose the score. So when you said John Williams is the greatest, I said not. Is anyone better? I said not yet. Give Howard Shore another trilogy or something, and we'll see. Give him a run for his money. Okay, but yes. So do I think they thought it was going to be amazing? Probably not. But they knew they were going to have hits. There was already a fan base built in. And I know I'm a stickler. I was talking about being a stickler earlier about how Harry Potter was not, verbatim from the books.
That's what I want to see. How do you feel about the Lord of the Rings? Don't worry about the Hobbit. How do you feel about the Lord of the Rings transferred from book to film?
Okay, so I've read the books, and it's tough. They are tough reads. That having been said, it is impossible. It's impossible to put everything that he said into the films. And I can recognize that. Now, another part why this is a skewed view is because I read Harry Potter first.
Yeah.
And then watched these films.
Yeah.
I watched Lord of the Rings first and then read the book. Okay? The book's a hard read. If anyone has read it, half of it's written in song. And then the appendices are like 1,000 pages where like you learn things about the backgrounds of characters that like you didn't know the first time you read it, And so, yeah, impossible. So like I can let that go. I feel like the biggest change that makes the most sense for me is that in the books, Aragorn, he's looking forward to returning to Gondor and becoming the king.
He's like, I'm the guy.
Let's go. I'm going to go. I'm going to take the throne. I'm doing it. To make his arc work in a dramatic fashion in the movies, it was amazing.
Everybody wants an underdog story.
Yes.
You don't want to be the guy who's just like, well, yeah, I know I'm the heir.
Yeah, and I'm going
to the throne, and
right.
So I'm just gonna do that. Like, no, that doesn't make a likable guy.
No,
it's just you want the underdog story. You want it to be some ranger, right?
Strider.
Yeah.
So yes, I love that. That's a big change that I loved. Also, I don't know if you know this, but in the books, Boromir doesn't die until the Two Towers.
Correct.
He dies in the first chapter of the Two Towers.
Yes.
And I remember the chapter reading it. It's called The Departure of Boromir. And if you were reading it for the first time, you're like, oh, Departure of Boromir. He's probably dipping back to Gondor. No, he did.
He did.
Well, can we also state the fact that was one of the most heartbreaking deaths in the trilogy?
Well, we can if we revisit. So, because there's two different versions of this series. Correct? So we have the theatrical version.
We're not even why we. Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. That's
this fair. For this specific
disclaimer.
moment.
Yeah,
for
disclaimer
this specific moment.
Before you continue. Anyone listening right now, you're doing yourself a disservice if you are only watching the theatrical editions. I understand the extended ones are like 3.5 hours, 4 hours a piece. Doesn't matter. Watch the extended. Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
We've got to differentiate the two, because if you're just watching I remember watching the theatrical versions, and I was just like, dude, Boromir is just trying to get this power for himself, and he's just falling prey to the ring, and it sucks. Like, yeah, I can feel sorry for him. Like, men are weak. I could feel sorry for him, but man, And then you watch the extended editions, and it goes into the relationship with his father, with his brother, he was supposed to be the savior of men.
He was. And he was put on that pedestal by his crazy father.
So actually watching the extended editions gives you so much more insight into Boromir's relationship. It's actually crazy.
And then, because you see how he treated Faramir, too. Because, like I said, if you're watching theatrical, you just see Denethor being a piece of shit to Faramir, which is even amplified in the extendeds, but you see the relationship between Boromir and Faramir, how Boromir almost resented his father for the way he treated Faramir. Yeah. And loved Faramir, loved his brother, which makes it so much more the gravity to when Frodo lets Faramir know that he knew Boromir, and you can see on Faramir's face, his upset. It gives it so much more gravity in the extended versions.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, just we could go into the Lord of the Rings for ever.
I think we should do a whole episode about this one of these days.
Yeah, we could go into it forever, and we will at a later date. But I just want to do some comparisons for Lord of the Rings to, a series that has been out since 2008, and they have 23 movies total.
Well, this is why I was gonna. So I wrote your list down as you were naming it, because I wanted you to know. You have Harry Potter in this list at number 5. How are you gonna leave out the MCU? How is Harry Potter above the MCU?
Okay, let's get to that. Okay, what movies from the MCU are good movies? Okay.
Winter Soldier.
Okay, Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie.
Civil War.
Okay.
Infinity War.
Okay, so really we're really honing in on Captain America as a character. He is fantastic. Well, he's not Mr. Fantastic, but he's Captain America. He's a great character, and he's good. He's good. But these movies are spread over years when other movies
Ragnarok
get in between them. All right? They do. They get in between them. And really the comparisons that I have between Lord of the Rings and the MCU are just the quality of the movies, the quality of the soundtrack, and the actual story. Okay. So the story itself in the Marvel series, hard to follow if you're not into it. Hard to follow if you're not into it. You're going to have to learn eventually about the Infinity Stones.
I beg a differ. I'm going to stop you right now, okay? Because my mother, who I love dearly, was like, I ain't watching that shit.
I do remember that.
Okay, so then she came to visit me, and I remember I was telling Brian, like, for years I've been telling my little brother Brian, hey, get mom to watch these. And he was like, she won't. So they were both coming up, and I said, with our powers combined, we can get her to watch them. I have Disney Plus. They're all on there. Let's go.
It's easy.
And I'll tell you what, we started from the beginning. We started with Iron Man.
Did you do it when they were released or the chronicle?
No, I did I have the luxury of doing it chronologically. But we didn't watch Captain Marvel.
You didn't watch Captain Marvel?
We started with First Avenger.
I've never seen Captain Marvel either.
Actually, I watched it recently.
Okay.
We'll get into that another time. We started with First Avenger, and we went from there. And she ended up falling in love with the characters. So it's the characters that like drew her in. When she had a love affair with Chris Hemsworth, right? With Thor.
Yes, naturally.
Okay? But then like it got to the point where I was like, I need to go to bed. She's like, no, let's watch The Dark World. I was like, oh, I mean, we need to, but
yeah.
But she was wanting to watch them.
Dark
so
World's the dark spot of the MCU.
It is. You don't need to be a built-in fan to enjoy these movies. This is what the point I was trying to make. That's why I stopped you.
Okay, and that does make sense. But just you're a cinephile yourself.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows you knows this. And the Oscars are biased as hell. Okay, we all know this. Like, if you don't think the Oscars are biased, that's just ridiculous on your part. But they are awards. Okay, Marvel has been the biggest thing for the last 10 years.
No Oscars.
One Oscar.
For what?
Black Panther soundtrack.
Oh my
that
goodness!
Is the one Oscar. Maybe I don't know if they have more. That's the only.
No,
one
I feel like that really is it because there was talk about Josh Brolin being up for Best Supporting.
That wouldn't be bad.
It wouldn't in Infinity War, obviously not in Endgame.
Yeah.
Because he's such a compelling character.
Josh Brolin is fantastic. He's a great actor.
He actually enjoyed playing that role more than he did playing Cable.
Cable, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we were talking about awards.
I think they might have gotten separate Oscars for maybe different effects or
like
something.
Sound editing.
Yeah, something down the line. They've gotten some kind of other Oscars, but I know the one for sure is they got Best Soundtrack Oscar for Black Panther, which was a dope soundtrack. It was.
Yes.
Meh movie, dope soundtrack.
Yes.
How many Oscars does Lord of the Rings have? We kind of touched on it.
At least 11.
At least 11.
At least 11.
At least 11. I think it's like 18.
That actually sounds about right.
Betwixt the three movies that matter. So it's just that in itself speaks volumes.
So you're going to, right now, you're going to tell me, first thing you said was the Oscars are biased.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The Oscars are biased.
But now you're putting Lord of the Rings above it because MC doesn't have any.
It's just something that you can easily access. Just like, okay, yeah, they're biased, but let's say they deserve even half of the Academy Awards that they got. And let's say that the MCU deserves double or triple the Academy Awards that they got. It still doesn't equal up.
Whatever. I'm not even arguing because Lord of the Rings is my number 1, too. What I'm arguing is that you left MCU out of the top 5. I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad about it.
It's just not going to be in the top 5. It never will be. It's too many movies and it's too much of the same movie. Okay, it's a hero. Okay, here we go. Oh, they did it. Yay, they did it.
You're a hater. They didn't do it in Infinity War. They didn't.
And that's why it is the absolute best Marvel movie.
And that's why
because they absolutely failed.
Winter Soldier though.
They failed.
Winter Soldier.
Oh, Winter Soldier's great, but Infinity War is better. Infinity War is the best Marvel.
Okay,
movie.
we're gonna do a whole segment about MCU one of these days. That's fine.
Absolutely, we can do that. But I mean, just to finish up everything, you know what we've got? Hot route.
Hot route. Can you just come over here and get on the other side of me, please?
Absolutely. All right, so we just finished up talking about the MCU. So, who outside of the not outside of the MCU, but who is the best Marvel actor outside of the movies they've done?
Like so
in the MCU.
So no MCU movies.
No MCU movies. Who is the best actor? And I don't know. I don't have a clear-cut answer to that question. I was just thinking about it because, yeah, they're mostly known for those movies, but they have done some other stuff.
I got this.
Okay.
The fan answer is Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, absolutely. Okay. Yes.
But I'm going with Robert Downey Jr.
Very good. Okay, why?
So Iron Man revived his career. Okay.
It really did.
It did, because he was on before that, he had his addiction problems and stuff like that. But the roles before that, like, he's got range. Like, he's been around since the 80s. Bounced around Hollywood doing roles, and I've seen him in a movie.
I mean, he did Sherlock Holmes, which was like, that was another series all in itself that was like, honestly, fantastic.
Probably still beats out Harry Potter. Hey. Okay, I'm going with Robert Downey Jr. Okay.
I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
That he's just done some good movies. I can get behind that, but not really because it's Sam motherfucking Jackson.
No, then that's why I had to lead it with that. Okay, yeah, Samuel Jackson.
Just to have him in there. I mean, when he first started talking to
Tony Stark,
that was just like, this is Nick Fury.
Oh, yeah. The revamped comics based their character like on Samuel Jackson.
Exactly.
So they had to go get him.
Exactly. All right, hot route. Number 2. Which game would you play over for the first time? If you could just wipe your memory, okay, and you could play over a game for the first time, would you choose whatever your favorite Arkham game is? Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, or Return of the King?
If I choose one of the Batman games, does my memory also fade from like the Batman games that came after it? Like if I chose Arkham Asylum, would I not know what's going to happen in City, Origins, and Night?
Yeah, we can do that.
Then it'd be Arkham Asylum. No, I love Return of the King. Okay, if there's ever going to be a remastered like idea, let me in. We're gonna do it. Let me in. We're gonna remaster Return of the King. But yes, it absolutely has to be Arkham Asylum. This is the first Batman game of that series to come out. Yeah. One game of the year.
Yeah.
And if I could play that with like no, notions of what's gonna happen or what this game's about, 100% Arkham Asylum.
So in that context, that has to do with the series of it. Because you don't know what's going to happen the entire thing.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But can we just talk about how good Return of the King is?
Oh, so good!
Oh my god.
It's so good. I want to go play it after this probably now. I have the GameCube downstairs. So
probably, yeah. Just fire it right up.
Yep.
All right, hot route. Last one.
Hot route.
This one might take a little bit. It's more of an expanded question. But which expanded movie or series would you like to see most of? Like, Amazon Prime has bought the rights for Lord of the Rings to do a series for the Second Age. Mm-hmm. We know that Game of Thrones is trying to do, I think it's called Fire and Blood or something like that.
About the Targaryens.
About the Targaryen family. If you want to look at the Star Wars universe, you can look at like Darth Revan or Darth Malak, just some of the Sith Lords from old. What kind of series would be maybe not the most interesting, but what like stands out to you? What would be fantastic and you just love to see more of?
Oh, this is loaded. It's
a big one.
Because I know there already is in place like Star Wars extended canon.
Yeah.
It'd probably be Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I would love to see what's happening, right, with the Targaryen bloodline, the Civil War.
Okay, yeah.
But I'd also love to see Robert's Rebellion.
Oh,
I'd love to see
that. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
the first long night. Okay, there's so much in like because you get the 8th season of Game of Thrones was taking place in Westeros from the first episode on until we won't talk about season 8 maybe another time, but like so much history. Star Wars has already begun to delve into that with like the Knights of the Old Republic video games, novelizations, and things like that. Lord of the Rings. All you need to do is put your head in the appendices,
and you can see the whole history.
See the whole history of everything in like the Second Age and the First Age. Read the similarity. Game of Thrones doesn't have that yet. I haven't read A Song of Ice and Fire, but I know that essentially he refers back to these events, but not in depth. Okay, so that would be something that I would like to see, and we're getting a little taste of that with the new series they're producing now. But there's so much there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think you saw that coming.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Because there's so much history that has just been untouched.
Yeah.
That's just been referred to. I can definitely get behind that.
Yeah.
Once I get over how sad I am about Game of Thrones.
Oh well, one of these days we'll go ahead and do a review of the entire series. We won't just focus on how terrible season 8 was, or season 7 for that matter, because it's a great show. I think before we go and we're on this topic, I'm going to say real quick that people that haven't watched it have probably heard the complaints about the last 2 seasons, but God, if they only knew, they should still watch it because of how great and amazing the first 6 seasons were.
I'll say 5.
5.5.
5.5.
5.5. All right. I think we're about out of time.
And with that one, we're out of time. Again, we are almost agreeable. I'm Ed Harris.
I'm Chris Ellison.
Thanks for stopping by.
Hey.